Hi, Melanie Muenchinger, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I'm going to be sharing a new project for you with one of my stamp sets from Gina K Designs, and I'm teaching you the bokeh technique. This is one of the hottest paper crafting and stamping trends right now, and if you've seen it on Pinterest, you'll see that it's these beautiful orbs of color to create accents and backgrounds. It's based on a Japanese word for hazy, and it applies to a photography term when you see those beautiful out of focus different spots of color on a photograph, and it's just a wonderful way to make a background and showcase your images. I've seen some tutorials online for using stencils or for using round stamps, and you know I always love my stamps, but I was thinking I show you so many things with sponge daubers. What would a great way to just recreate this look. I'm a little out of sorts because right as I was setting up, I accidentally touched one of my ink pads with some ink and I got it on this card. So I'll be trimming this down later to put on just another card base, but it is going to be a single layer card. The products and tools that we're going to be using for today, I used the peony and a greeting from my Stately Flowers 9 set, but then I realized I still had not shown you the carnation from my Stately Flowers 4 set. This was in last week's video. So I'm going to be using that today on our demonstration, as well as the Aloha greeting, which I included in this set for the Hawaii. You will need some white cardstock. This is the Gina K Pure Luxury. It's 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored at 5 1/2, so I can do a top fold card. And just to show you, this was colored in with my alcohol markers. You can see that there's something on the other side, but it did not blend through at all or bleed through when I was coloring that image. So I'm not saying it's the only cardstock that you can do that with, but it's the only one that I've tried that does that. So this is great for your single layer cards if you're going to be using alcohol markers, because normally it will go through. The Spectrum Noir markers that I'm using today are the HB3, the CG4, and the CG3. Accidentally rolled onto the floor. Going to be using some ink pads. I've got the Gina K Wild Lilac, Blue Raspberry, Grass Green, and Black Onyx for stamping my image and my greeting. I've got some acrylic blocks for the flower and the greeting. And then I just got some different sponges. So these I get from Gina K Designs. I like that you can purchase these individually, so you can start out with just a few. I like to have one for each color group, so I use one sponge dauber for all of the blues, one for all the reds, and so on. Then I also have these smaller ones that I've had for so long, they're starting to actually come apart a little bit. But I got these from Stampin' Up. I assume they still carry them, but if not, you know, you can improvise with cosmetic sponges that you've cut down or whatever. But I just love how this shape allows you to make a very hazy circle, and you are going to control how dark or how light with the pressure and how fuzzy or how focused that round image is. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our card base, and I'm going to wait to fold it until later so that it doesn't pop up, and I will put this here so you can see where we're going. So I just wanted to make this really simple and to keep it in the center of my card. So I'm going to start with the blue, and if you want to stamp your focal point first and then do your stamping around it, you can. I started first though with the background. I didn't want to really worry so much about like, oh, I want it outside the flower. And you can mask it if you don't want it showing through, but I think that's cool and part of the look. So let me just show you really quickly on some scratch paper. It's not about how much ink you put on it, it's about how hard you press. So I can go very gently, and you're going to see a lot of little circles and texture to that. Or I can press all the way down and you get a much more solid and defined line around the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just keeping it here to the center. Okay, and I'm going to just do it randomly. I like to work in odd numbers. And let's go ahead and we'll do a little bit of the blue. And I'm moving it around, okay, so that the color is going to bounce around to the different areas of the card. Now I'm going to switch to the purple. And I'm stamping off so that I'm getting some of those different shades of the ink pad. And then finally this grass green. here, one up here, one over here. And you can change it around, or you can go back and add some at the end if you feel like you don't have enough. So I'm kind of leaving a space for that flower there. Now, if you want to have a rectangle, you could make a mask to stamp inside of, just to give you a better idea of where those circles are going to go. But I like it just random. I like how this is going to produce a different background for every single card. It's just a nice way to personalize it. If you want them to just look like they're free floating, then you need to stamp them all within this border. But if you want to mask it and stamp off the edges of this, when you pull it away, you're going to have a really nicely defined rectangle with that pattern inside. And I'll probably show that in another video. It's just another really cool look. Very easy to do. All right, so I'm going to stamp my carnation in the middle, and then I'm going to stamp that aloha at the bottom. And then I'm going to color this in with this HB3. I'm going to use the chisel tip just because filling this whole area. So it goes very quickly to do just the middle of that with the chisel tip. And then you can actually use the point, and that is just as fine as if you're using the bullet tip if you turn it on its side to go around those edges to get into those little tight areas of the petal. And I'm going to let that dry and do my leaves, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to layer on just a little bit more purple. But see how that's coming through, and I think that that just looks so pretty. Okay, now let's do our lighter green. I forgot to color that little bud underneath, so I'm going to have to go back and do that. Okay, so filling all that in. And then we're going to take the CG4 and just do some accents on the underside of those leaves and the stem to give it some more dimension. Okay, let's go back in here, and I'm going to color this little bud in the underside of this. And then I'm just going to trace under and over those darkest areas of these petals. And if you want to go even darker, you can go one marker shade up, or you could even add in some blue. But I just chose these three colors together because they're all cool colors. So the blue, the green, and the purple all work together really nicely. Okay, and if you want to add a little glitter to that, you could also use the Stella Wink pen on that flower. And fold, and your card is complete. I hope you enjoy this bokeh technique and experiment with your different sponges. You could also even use the end of a pencil eraser. You just want to make sure that you don't do any erasing with it. Put it in your pencil cup and your crafting table, and then just experiment with making different little dots on there. But these are going to be more defined. They're not going to be as out of focus as the sponges. Please visit my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, for more inspiration using all of my stamps, and come to Gina K Designs and StampTV for more ideas and projects. Thank you for watching today.